Well, my second question as well is for the government leader. Last month, Leader, the Parliamentary Budget Officer warned once again that the lion's share of the Trudeau government's $100 billion in so-called stimulus spending is going to come too late to do any good. In fact, the PBO projected this poorly calibrated spending of $100 billion in borrowed money will bump inflation this year, next year, and in 2023. The PBO says this will result in an increase in the Bank of Canada policy rate of 50 basis points in order to keep inflation in check, which will then, quote, directly increase public debt charges as existing debt is refinanced and future borrowing requirements are financed at higher rates. Leader, is your government aware of the PBO's warning that the so-called stimulus is going to do more harm than good, and are you reconsidering this ill-thought-out plan?
Senator Gold.
Well, the government is certainly aware of the PBO report, takes seriously its observations. Government remains of the view that the measures that its announcement to which you referred will benefit the economy, will help us get through this period in a stronger way, and is keeping a careful, watchful eye, of course, on all indicia of our economy, including inflation.
Senator Plett, supplementary.
Well, given the government's track record, I would be betting on the PBO over this government, I think 9 out of 10 times for sure, and maybe 10. Leader, inflation rose to 3.6% in May, its highest point in more than a decade. The Angus Reid Institute reports that 9 in 10 Canadians say over the past 6 months it has become more expensive for them to improve their home through renovations, purchase a new home, fill up their tank with gas, and buy groceries for their household. Leader, why is your government insisting on borrowing $100 billion to stimulate an economy which won't need to be stimulated, driving up interest rates by ½ percentage point, increasing costs for every Canadian, and escalating our public debt charges in the process?
Senator Gold.
The government remains of the view that the measures that it has introduced and announced will serve Canadians well, and is keeping a careful and prudent watch on the economy. And we will. Time will tell. And in that regard, I cannot resist reminding this chamber of the nature of the questions that I had been receiving for months and months and months about the terrible and disastrous approach that Canada has taken to procuring vaccines. I don't hear those questions anymore because, as I had been saying for many months in the past, the government remains committed to its plan and is confident that it will meet or indeed exceed its targets. And again, when we reconvene in the months to come in this chamber, I will have occasion to see whether or not the prudent stewardship of our economy through these difficult times will continue to hold.